What if Japan's oldest dragon-slaying legend preserved the memory of a lost ancient kingdom's destruction? In Japanese mythology, there is a story in which Susanoo, a heroic deity who descended from the heavens, defeats Yamata no Orochi, a dragon with 8 heads. Dragon-slaying myths appear across the world's mythologies. Dragons do not exist in reality, yet many dragon-slaying stories can be interpreted as memories of flood control works. And just as in world mythology, the story of Yamata no Orochi can be read as a flood control myth. Yet this Japanese dragon-slaying legend contains motifs that go beyond flood control myth alone and leaves behind many mysteries. Once again, it is the Izumoku Den, the oral tradition preserved by the Izumo clan, that may unlock those mysteries. According to the oral tradition, the dragon worship of the Izumo people, a certain incident that took place in the Izumo kingdom in the 3rd century BCE, and the figure who set it in motion. These are the keys to unraveling the myth. Susanoo, a heroic deity and a god descended from the heavens. The oral tradition holds that a real historical figure became the model for this god. This episode, we unravel the legend of Yamata no Orochi, and close in on the mystery of the heroic deity Susanoo. Mythos Japan explores myths, legends, and folklore not as fiction, but as memories humanity left behind to face and dialogue with an unknowable world. Deciphering the Serpent, the real identity of Japan's most famous dragon Izumoku No. 3. A recap of the previous episode. Did ancient Indians reach Japan? According to the Izumoku Den, one of Japan's oldest kingdoms, the Izumo Kingdom was founded in what is now Shimane Prefecture around the 7th century BCE. In time, the Izumo Kingdom lost its power in ancient Japan. Its history was buried, preserved only as a mythological record. The myth of the land cession, in which the gods of Izumo submitted to the gods of the heavens. According to the keepers of the oral tradition, the memory of this kingdom's fall was encoded in one further myth. That myth is the legend of Yamata no Orochi. The protagonist of this myth is Susanoo, a male deity. The story begins with his banishment from the heavenly realm for acts of violence and disorder. Cast down from the heavens, he lands beside the He River in the earthly land of Izumo. There he encounters an elderly couple in tears. The couple had 8 daughters, but once a year a colossal serpent, Yamata no Orochi, with 8 heads and 8 tails and a body raw with sores, would come and devour one of them. The time was drawing near again, and they wept for their last remaining daughter, Kushi-nada Hime, who would be next. Susanoo resolved to slay the serpent, on the condition that Kushi-nada Hime would become his wife. He prepared great quantities of sake, set up 8 gates, and lay in wait. When the serpent came, he made it drunk and sent it to sleep. As it lay sleeping, he cut down its 8 heads with his sword. From within its tail emerged a single divine blade, the sword that would later become the Kusanagi, one of the 3 imperial regalia and a symbol of royal authority. With Yamata no Orochi defeated, Susanoo took Kushi-nada Hime as his bride. What Yamata no Orochi represents in this myth? That is the He River, which flows through Izumo. This reading is shared not only by the keepers of the oral tradition, but by many scholars. As introduced in the previous episode, the principal reason the Izumo people chose this land as their home was the high-quality iron sand that could be drawn from the He River. The river also divides into multiple tributaries. The 8 heads are thought to represent precisely this. The body raw with sores is likewise interpreted as a characteristic of the river, reddish-brown from the iron sand it carries, or as a representation of iron smelting itself, and the sword emerging from the tail is understood to signify that the land was a source of iron. The He River was also known from ancient times as a violent flooding river. It is thought that these characteristics gave rise to the image of a rampaging dragon, and to the motif of daughters offered as sacrifice. Furthermore, Yamata no Orochi can be read not only as the He River, but as the Izumo kingdom itself. The Izumo people held the dragon serpent as sacred. As detailed in the previous episode, the roots of the Izumo people lie in India. The dragon serpent tradition that originates in India is the Naga. The ancestors of the Izumo people in ancient India associated the god of the forest with the cobra and the god of the river with the crocodile. From this fusion emerged the belief in the Naga, a dragon serpent form that combined both. Alongside their Naga belief, the Izumo people also practiced ancestor worship, sun worship, and veneration of the gods who guard boundaries. The dragon serpent was revered as a being that protected all of these deities. In the modern era, snakes and dragons are clearly distinguished. In ancient times, they were frequently conflated. In Japan, where neither cobras nor crocodiles existed, ordinary snakes and sea snakes became the focus of Naga belief. This Naga belief can in fact still be observed today. In Shimane Prefecture, once the seat of the Izumo Kingdom, A ritual survives in which the yellow-bellied sea snake, which washes ashore in winter, is venerated as the Ryu Jasa Ma, the dragon serpent deity, and ceremonially offered. The form of the Shimenawa, the sacred rope seen at shrines, is also said to represent a serpent or the intertwining of two serpents. The dragon figures placed at shrine water basins similarly reflect the Naga tradition, which continues to this day in various forms as a living practice rooted in folk custom. It is also said that the old word for snake, Naga Mushi, derives its first syllable from Naga. In this way, Yamata no Orochi is a symbol of the dragon serpent worshipped by the Izumo people. And by extension, it can be read as pointing to the Izumo kingdom itself. There are further elements in the myth still to be decoded. They are the number 8, the Sake, and Kushi na da Hime. For the Izumo people, 8 was a sacred number. Just as the Arabic numeral 8 visually echoes the symbol for infinity, the Izumo people held a similar concept. They understood 8 as the center from which roads extend in all directions. A crossroads known in ancient Japanese as Yachi Mata, where Ya means 8. They also held that sunlight radiates outward in 8 directions. It is thought, then, that Yamata no Orochi was given 8 heads not only to represent the tributaries of the He River, but to represent the Izumo people themselves. In Japan, sake has been used in purification rituals across every form of ceremony. Even today, the custom survives of performing a groundbreaking ritual and purifying the site with sake before construction begins. The depiction of Susan no O weakening the serpent with sake, then, can be understood as representing the ritual performed in preparation for flood control works. The name Kushi na da Hime can be broken down as Kushi, meaning wondrous, and I na da, meaning rice field, giving us, roughly, the princess of the wondrous rice field. The Izumo people had brought rice cultivation from India, but their wet rice farming techniques may not yet have been fully developed. Through flood control works, they acquired rice fields capable of yielding an almost miraculous abundance. That is one reading of the myth. To draw the threads together, this myth can be read as the story of Susan no O, bearer of irrigation technology, subduing the He River, the iron-producing heartland and symbol of the Izumo kingdom, and seizing Kushi na da Hime, the princess of Izumo who also embodies the fertile rice fields, along with the sword that symbolizes iron and royal authority, and that, in turn, can be understood as the transfer of a sovereignty born in the land of Izumo, and the fall of the Izumo kingdom. Here is a striking parallel. In a 4th century Chinese collection of tales known as the Soujinki, there survives a story titled The Girl Who Slew the Great Serpent. A great serpent living in the mountains of Fujian province demands girls as sacrifice. Hearing this, a young woman goes to face it herself, armed with a sword, bait, and a dog, and slays the serpent. This text was brought to Japan in the 7th or 8th century CE, and it is thought that the compilers of Japan's mythology would have read it. It is possible, then, that they borrowed motifs from such tales while encoding historical realities as myth. The Soujinki, incidentally, has also been interpreted as a flood control myth, and it may have arrived in Japan carrying that reading from the outset. Beyond these examples, the interpretation of dragon-slaying stories as records of flood control works is a broadly shared framework in comparative mythology. Carrying out flood control required the operation of large-scale organizations, achieved through royal governance. The memory and record of such works, it is thought, were mythologized in part to legitimate royal authority. The story of Marduk slaying Tiamat in Mesopotamian mythology, and the story of Heracles slaying the Hydra, another multi-headed serpent, in Greek mythology, have both been interpreted as flood control myths. Who, then, was Susanoo, the figure who defeated Yamata no Orochi? Does a historical model for Susanoo exist? The oral tradition offers an answer. In the previous episode, we discussed how the deity Okuni Nushi appears in Japanese mythology as Susanoo's son-in-law by adoption, and how that figure was modeled on a real king of the 3rd century BCE Izumo kingdom. As this king, the senior king of the dual kingship system, extended his power by forging marriage alliances with clans across the land, and as the Izumo kingdom reached the height of its influence in the 3rd century BCE, a separate group of people crossed from the great continental power of Shin to reach the Izumo kingdom. The figure who led that group was Zhou Fuku. The Chinese historical chronicle Shiki records this account. Acting on the orders of the first emperor, he led 3,000 boys and girls eastward in search of the elixir of immortality. That figure was Zhou Fuku. The portrait of him preserved in the Izumo Den was not that of a simple envoy. He was a Taoist ritual master, versed in religion and ritual, who also possessed the most advanced knowledge and skills of his age: astronomy, navigation, herbalism, seed varieties of various crops, sericulture, iron smelting, and irrigation technology. And those he led numbered, as the Shiki records, several thousand children. The Izumo kingdom was, of course, a militarized state, but the king Oku-ni-Nushi chose not to meet them in battle, receiving them instead with friendship. A group of children, he presumably judged, posed no threat. Jofuku provided irrigation technology and other skills to the Izumo kingdom. He then requested the hand of Oku-ni-Nushi's daughter, and Oku-ni-Nushi offered her as a gesture of goodwill. And yet Jofuku went on to bring about an incident that sent a fracture running through the kingdom. That incident, the oral tradition holds, became the distant cause of the Izumo kingdom's fall, and the reason history came to be written as myth. For it is this very figure, Jofuku, whom the oral tradition identifies as the historical model for Susanoo. To close in on this mystery, we must also understand another side of Susanoo as depicted in other myths. Next episode, we follow the incident Jofuku set in motion, examine those other myths of Susanoo, and close in on his true identity. This episode, we explored the possibility that Japan's oldest dragon-slaying legend, the myth of Yamata no Orochi, encoded a historical reality, the dragon serpent faith of the Izumo people, the Hi River, irrigation and agriculture, and the fall of the Izumo kingdom. We also introduced the oral tradition's claim that Susanoo was modeled on Jofuku, who arrived in the Izumo kingdom in the 3rd century BCE. Why does Oku-ni-Nushi appear in Japanese mythology as Susanoo's son-in-law by adoption? And why was the existence of the Izumo kingdom preserved in myth, rather than erased entirely? Next episode, we pursue these mysteries alongside Jofuku and Susanoo. Was Susanoo a real migrant king? The hidden history behind Japan's storm god, Izumoku Den, number 4. We hope to see you next time. This has been Mythos Japan. If you found anything compelling or have questions, please leave a comment. It helps shape future episodes. Please subscribe, leave a like, and hype the channel.